A week had passed at my work, and thankfully no one had touched the infected toys I left in a box in our lunchroom. Long story short, I left the toys there in order to appease Isabel, a giant porcelain doll who was seeing my cousin Sid. I didn't know if Isabel had any way of knowing whether or not I completed the task, but something tells me that she did, because those collectible toys, specifically vintage Hot Wheels, Warhammer, Transformers, Star Wars, and He-Man action figures, all contained a little bit of the same micrites that filled Isabel, and by micrites, I mean black, sentient, nanomachine slime. Yes, it's as fucked as it sounds. Anyway, I left the box at work because I was afraid if I didn't, Isabel would have poured shimmering black micrites down my throat and eviscerated me from the inside. Luckily, she didn't. I was able to say goodbye to her and Sid and avoid returning to Sid's place ever again. That was my plan anyway. 2 weeks after I left the box at work, it finally disappeared. Out of sight, out of mind, I thought. It almost felt like I could neatly wrap a bow on the event and move on with my life. After all, I had a promotion on the horizon, and my wife and I were planning a trip to Costa Rica. It felt like the whole chapter had ended, and then I bumped into our company's general laborer, Leonard. "Hey, Gabe, where do you go when you want something one tier below fine dining?" he asked innocently, and by one tier below, I mean fine dining without fine dining prices. You know what I mean. He seemed to be in an especially good mood, which was out of character for his usual stuttering, neurotic self. I retracted my tape measure. "Why do you ask?" "Well, if you must know," Leonard smiled rather sheepishly, happy to reveal something. "I'm seeing someone, Gabe, and I'd like to treat her to something nice. It's our 13-week anniversary." My tape measure fell to the ground. 13 weeks. Yeah, it's a cultural thing from where she's from, not sure. Anyway, I was thinking takeout from somewhere nice. Are takeout boxes from nice restaurants also nice? I swallowed a small lump. "Did you, by chance, collect some toys from our lunchroom some time ago?" His eyebrows furrowed, a little confused, then he brightened up again. "Oh, you mean the Chewie and Jar Jar figures? Heck yeah, I did. And all the other plastic too. That kind of stuff is worth a lot, you know. I'm surprised someone was dumb enough to give it away." I nodded, agreeing that it was dumb. Until that moment, I didn't realize how bad it would feel to see the victim I had cursed with Isabel's gifts. But here he stood before me, an innocent young guy, probably early 20s, probably a big closet nerd. What was this new Isabel going to do to him? I tried to appear disinterested by looking away. I did not want to develop our rapport any further. "Try Nightingales," I said. "I think they have nice takeout boxes. They present well." It was easy enough to avoid Leonard, like I avoided Sid, and just live my life like so many people who put their head in the sand. But then I got promoted at the worst possible time. I had been teasing the promotion to my wife for a long while, telling her how we could actually afford to save up a little, and maybe turn our short vacation into a real vacation. But when my boss announced the good news early, it hit me like a wall of bricks. I was now the boss of a dude I had willingly cursed. It was one thing to be coworkers and keep my distance. It was quite another to have check-ins with the Leonard, plan his schedule and act as his supervisor, all while slowly watching his life deteriorate. And yes, very visibly, Leonard's life did deteriorate. Sure, he arrived smiling and reminiscing about some evening with his girlfriend, but Leonard also had massive bags under his eyes and looked chronically tired. Arabeth says a sleepless night can set you right. I love my pure and chosen. She warms my abode, even now. Food is so extraneous, don't you think? I've been fasting for days. Too often I would see him skip lunch entirely, or just eat a cube of feta cheese, followed by drinking the brine. and at the same time his strength kept dwindling too. His wheelbarrows had to be packed lighter and lighter in order for him to be of any use. I'm no doctor, but the guy was not looking healthy, and if, God forbid, he died, I would feel responsible, like directly responsible. I started losing sleep. Leonard was all I could think about, and I had no one else to turn to. The only person who had gone through anything remotely similar was of course my cousin Sid. My poor cousin Sid. I didn't want to entangle myself in the situation further, but I felt like I had no choice. I had to try something, so despite my aversion I forced myself to call Sydney and arrange a private meeting between the two of us. We were slated to meet at a bar. I told him we needed to talk mano a mano. Our mutual grandpa's 90th birthday was coming up, so that was the alibi. However, as soon as he parked his car outside the bar's front window, I could see her. I could literally see that massive doll I was trying so hard to avoid. Isabel was wearing a straw hat and some kind of cute summer outfit, buckled in behind a seatbelt as if she was a real person. Oh fucking Christ, I thought. This can't be happening. I quickly called Sid and prayed that he would pick up. I watched as he exited his car, patted his pocket, then opened his phone. Gabriel, hey, he said, we've just arrived. No, Sid, this is not a way situation. This is us only. She can't come in. Oh, haha, no need to worry. I could see him pat the roof of his Honda Civic. He hadn't noticed me inside. She is just going to sit in the car. She likes to meditate and watch me wherever I go. It's how we normally do things. The astonishment never ceases. How we normally do things. As long as she doesn't come in, that's fine, I said. And don't bring any of Isabel's micrites either. Micrites? No, I only have this Tamagotchi wristband that Isabel gave. Leave it in the car. We're having a personal talk about our grandpa. But it's a gift. She wants me to. No part of Isabel can join us, please. Tell her it's a family thing. We need privacy. I watched him worriedly whisper something to Isabel, who appeared just as lifeless as any doll would. However, as soon as Sid removed his toy watch, I saw Isabel's posture abruptly straighten. Her porcelain hand smacked the glove compartment. Sid looked scared. He spoke a little shakily into his phone. Okay, you said sure. Just this one time, mano a mano. Then the doll turned to face me, through the car glass and through the pub glass. Even from a distance I could sense the shimmering menace in her eyes. Chills coursed through my bones and sent sweat down my back. Waiting patiently, I watched as Sid patted Isabel, locked his doors and left his car. As soon as he came through the pub entrance, I pulled him behind a pillar out of the doll's view. We're gonna sit somewhere where she can't see us. At a shadowy booth table near the bar's back room, I ordered some fries to split. Sid kept massaging his wrist and looking over his shoulder. She's not very happy with me right now. Who? Isabel? I followed his worrying eyes. Yeah, she doesn't usually let me do stuff on my own. Oh boy. What do you mean, she doesn't let you do stuff on your own? My cousin finally met my gaze. My pure and chosen made me take an oath that we would always be by each other's side, that we could conquer the universe as long as our love stayed true. Yeah, but Sid, what does that even mean? Our waiter delivered the fries. Sid stared at them for a while before absently eating one. I waited for him to continue, but he never did. Sid, the reason I had us meet is because there's someone at my work now who is now seeing, well, a copy of Isabel. Copy of Isabel? No, Sid shook his head. Enough time has passed for Leonard's micrites to have formed their own consciousness. Arabeth is a separate entity entirely. My jaw dropped. So you know about this already? Of course I do. I've met both of Isabel's micrite offspring. She's given them full autonomy. They are completely unlinked. My jaw dropped further. Sid, I get that you're a very open-minded person, but does it not bother you that your partner might be, I don't know, cloning herself to manipulate humans for some catastrophic purpose? He wavered a bit, using a fry to soak up ketchup. She's been very caring for me. Leonard's skin is turning gray, Sid. He's not getting enough food or sleep. Yeah, I remember that phase of Is and I's relationship. What phase? A starvation phase. It was a show of devotion. Look, I get what you're saying, Gabriel, and honestly, I think you're right. I leaned forward cautiously. Right about what? About how Waze treats me. Like, why does she let Arabeth do whatever she wants, and I'm not even allowed to visit you by myself? That's, you're asking the right question. She's pretty controlling, and to be honest, it would be nice if we gave ourselves some distance. I mean, what do you think? Should we, at least temporarily, I don't know, pause seeing each other? A perverse laughter almost took over me. This was not the heart-to-heart I was envisioning, but it was close enough. I focused on this small ember of common sense in my cousin and tried to stoke it further. I think you mean a breakup, Sid. Yes, you should break up with her. Sydney's eyes widened a little. Yeah, but full-on breaking up, that might be hard. No shit, she doesn't even allow you to drive alone. Honestly, if you want to break up, I would just leave right now. Leave right now? Yes, leave through the back door of this bar. Just get out. But what about my car? What about all my Warhammer at home? And that's all just stuff. Who cares? You could always get more stuff. Oh, Gabriel, I don't know. Listen, Sid, she controls everything in your house. As far as I understand, she's a fucking space slime that can do anything. Well, not anything. He drummed his fingers. It appeared to be dawning on him now how serious his entrapment was. She can't drink. She can't drink. No, she can't drink or be exposed to liquid. The micrites basically short-circuit if they get wet. I looked at the water in my glass, how easy it would be to order several glasses and carry them to Sid's car. But let me think about it. I'm going to see if Is and I can reach an agreement. What agreement? You've got to understand, Gabriel. Isabel and I have been together a long time. I've got to mull this decision over. If we seriously are going to separate, I've got to be sure. I really wanted him to act now. Just cut the cord with that literal monster, but I also didn't want to push too hard. I knew how Sid could be. Either way, this was still progress in the right direction. I'll Facebook message you. Sid scraped up some remaining fries. She doesn't track my Facebook, so I'll let you know what the situation is. But thanks for the talk. Gabe, you've always been there for me. Seriously, you're still the only family member who ever came out to see Isabel in the first place. I was taken aback by this, simultaneously touched and a bit saddened. Did it really take a cursed doll for me to spend more time with my cousin? Sid, I've got your back, man. We stood up and hugged. It was the same surprisingly close embrace he gave me when I met him outside his place. Despite the strangeness of Isabel, I will say that he's definitely opened up to more genuine feelings since seeing that doll. Silver linings, I guess. Also, about Grandpa Todd's birthday, Sid opened up the calendar on his phone. Are we still planning something? Or was that just like a ruse to get me here? Water. That's all I needed to hear. If the micrites were killed by water, that means I had a weapon against the entities subjugating both Sid and Leonard. Sid lived and worked from his basement suite, which meant he was in contact with Isabel close to 24/7, so I wasn't going to show up unannounced to force him to break up. He was mature enough to process the relationship on his own terms, and I trusted him to reach out when he needed my help. But Leonard was another story. The 22-year-old kid started seeing those micrites called Arabeth because of my doing. It felt equivalent to letting a predator loose on an oblivious child. I had to remove Arabeth for Leonard's own good. Because I was now his boss, I had access to Leonard's address, so I knew where he lived. My plan was simple: schedule Leonard to come to work, leaving Arabeth at home, and then I would take my first supervisor sick day and go eliminate Arabeth. It didn't matter to me what their relationship was like, or what Arabeth may have meant to Leonard, because she wasn't human. People should not date haunted dolls filled with microscopic robots. Is that so crazy to believe? Especially if the dolls are ruining people's lives. You could try and argue there's a moral gray area for killing a sentient being, but I don't think so. Not in this case. I had to do what had to be done. It was Wednesday. I figured a sick day on Wednesday was more believable than a Monday or Friday. I still wanted to be seen as competent in my new role after all. I parked outside Leonard's building and waited for a delivery truck of any kind. Sure enough, 40 minutes later, dependable old Amazon arrived to deliver some goods. I followed the package person inside, jingling my own house keys and muttering, "I live here, don't worry." She didn't really seem to care either way. It was an old building, 1970s maybe. They hadn't installed any kind of fob system on the elevator, so I was free to ride up to Leonard's apartment on the 6th floor unimpeded. I was dressed in the gray coveralls, the ones I used to use for grimy site work, so if anyone asked, I'd say I was inspecting an emergency leak on behalf of Strata. Luckily, the 6th floor was totally empty. My luck continued when I walked up to the door because the lock was a model I recognized. I had installed many doors like it for a small motel 3 years ago. The deadbolt locks were flimsy as hell. My heart was beating in my head. I had never broken into anyone's home before, but I kept telling myself this was for the greater good. Focusing on the power tool, I drilled just below the keyhole, creating a puncture large enough for the pins inside to fall through. In a few minutes, my flathead screwdriver was the only key I needed. The door opened easily. It felt like the apartment was beckoning me to enter. Stay cool, stay cool. I cleaned up my mess outside to remove suspicion. Once inside, I waited in the tiny, shoe-filled entryway to see if I could hear movement. If there was a massive porcelain doll coming to strangle me, I had to be ready. A minute passed, 2, 5. The house appeared to be totally quiet. I entered the bathroom on my immediate left and got to work. I wasn't an actual plumber, but I had worked alongside several, and a common trick they taught me was that a hose could be attached to just about any faucet so long as you had the right adapter. My backpack held 20 adapters. Each time I tried screwing on one, I heard a shuffling sound coming from the living room, and it seemed to get closer. Great, someone's awake. I was on my 4th adapter when I heard the shuffling come closer outside the bathroom door. I held my breath, waiting to see if someone was going to burst in. No one did. As if enacting the most delicate surgery of my life, I applied a 20mm gasket and adapter, feeling the smooth metal final latch on and tighten to the faucet. Yes, wasting no time, I attached a 100-foot garden hose, complete with nozzle, and turned on the tap. As soon as I did, the bathroom door creaked open, ever so gently, on its own. I quietly came out, holding the hose in my left arm, and the nozzle gun in my right. There was nothing outside the bathroom. Further down, the hallway opened to a large living room conjoined with a kitchen. Wow, am I like the only guy who doesn't do collectibles? They weren't bobbleheads or Warhammer like at Sid's place. Instead, Leonard appeared to be a Lego aficionado. Even from a quick glance, I could make out the Lego Titanic suspended from the ceiling, a Lego NASA spaceship sitting on a counter, and a Lego edit framed between books on a shelf. There was a neat pile of assorted Lego bricks left in the center of the floor, and on the couch, a Lego skeleton. It was human-sized, painstakingly accurate, made of assorted, bendable-looking pieces. However, it didn't appear to be finished, as there was no skull, just an open neck. Arabeth. The shuffling noise returned by my feet. I leapt away and spotted a blocky, chittering thing with an onion-shaped dome. Is that a Lego Taj Mahal? As if in response, the building launched itself at my stomach, winding me instantly. I aimed my nozzle and pulled the trigger. It was jammed. Of course, changing strategy, I opted to stomp on the miniature world wonder. It broke apart into tiny pieces. I could see the micrites shoot out in quick liquid strands, escaping to the couch. As I looked back, there was an awful lot of micrites collecting around the couch now, attaching themselves to the skeleton, creating a glistening black mass. The couch soon seated a dusky void of a person with no discernible face. What is this? The sound appeared to come from every micrite at once, creating a deafening voice. I grabbed the nozzle at the end of the hose and tried my best to twist it off. Arabeth, dark as night itself, stood up and swiped at me, her limbs divided into more and more branching limbs. You invaded the wrong house, human. I blocked with my bundle of hose. She surrounded it in micrites. I quickly let go. Oh God. Stumbling, I hobbled over to the conjoined kitchen and blasted the kitchen tap. Arabeth recoiled. I searched the drawers for cups or glasses, but only found plates. I wet a plate in water and threw it at the shadowy horror. It didn't do much. As I opened a utensil drawer, a slithering hand grabbed me by the ankle and yanked me down. I grabbed a knife off the floor. "I will harvest all of you." I tried to stab at the dark hand, but Mycrite's skin would quickly reform, totally unhurt. Shit. She was dragging me to the center of the living room, where she stood with pulsating tentacles at her feet. Not even dust will remain. My heart was in my throat. This was happening too fast. My other ankle was being dragged now. I could feel a wave of Mycrites climb my legs and waist. "I may leave your skull intact," a reference for Leo. The Mycrites were feasting through my clothes and shoes. "Leave Leo alone." "Oh, and why's that?" I noticed the hose on the floor and stretched towards it. Arabeth's Stygian form rolled over my waist. Trillions of Mycrites piled on me. I could feel a wave of burning on my exposed flesh. "He doesn't deserve you." I choked out the words. "Men deserve what we tell them to deserve." I grabbed the hose and with my useless knife, stabbed into it as hard as I could. A pressurized jet of water shot straight up at Arabeth's head. All the Mycrite activity stopped. I lifted the section of hose and used it as an impromptu spray. I aimed it at the thickest parts of the black ooze. There came a monstrous howling. As Arabeth retreated, I stabbed into the pinhole of the hose and made the stream wider, dousing all Mycrites in sight. The tenebrous slime would crackle and turn gray after being exposed to water. I sprayed the Lego skeleton from top to bottom, then bottom to top, over and over. I was rammed at my side and spotted the Lego AT coming in for another charge. I kicked it over and sprayed the hell out of it too. I sprayed the hell out of everything. Very soon I was walking in an inch of water and gray, lifeless goop. Only small, scurrying bits of Mycrites would remain, hiding behind pictures and books, but they didn't hide for long. After an hour of watering every surface in the house about 10 times, it appeared that Arabeth, every inky bit of her, was gone. Sweet Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that was goddamn close. I eventually found the box of Isabel's toys in Leonard's closet and tossed them all in the sink. I dismantled the piping beneath Leonard's bathroom faucet and let the water continually pour. My plan was to make this look like a plumbing accident. After closing the apartment door, I emerged in the hallway completely soaked. Most of my pants and shoes had been eaten away, exposing skin that was red and blistered. It looked like I had jumped into a vat of acid. I didn't care. In the lobby, I staggered past a pair of women who were dumbstruck by my appearance. One of them made motions to puke, while the other gawked ceaselessly. "Holy crap, are you alright? What happened?" I could have told them there was a plumbing explosion. Hell, I could have made a joke about trying to brew meth in a bathtub or something. But instead I shook my head and stumbled out the front door. I just helped someone break up.